I told my best friend he couldn't crash at our place right after my girlfriend and I moved in together. My girlfriend Amy and I had been dating for 3 years, and we finally found this perfect little apartment downtown. It took us forever to save up for the security deposit and first month's rent. We were so excited to finally have our own space together. No roommates, no parents, just us. The week before we moved in, my buddy Ryan texted me out of nowhere. He said he was having problems with his roommates and needed a place to crash for a week, maybe 2. Ryan and I had been friends since middle school. We played on the same basketball team, went to the same college, and he was always there when I needed him. Normally, I would have said yes immediately without even thinking about it, but this time was different. Amy and I hadn't even moved our stuff in yet, and he was already asking to stay over. I wanted our first few weeks in the new place to be special, just us figuring out our routine, arranging furniture, making the space feel like ours. I told Ryan I couldn't do it this time. He got really quiet on the phone and then said, okay, but I could tell he was hurt. I felt bad, but I also knew Amy would probably say yes if I asked her because she's too nice to say no. Then she'd be uncomfortable in her own home, and I didn't want that. 2 days later, we moved in. Everything was perfect. We were unpacking boxes, arguing about where to put the TV, ordering pizza because neither of us wanted to cook. Then around 9 p.m., someone knocked on our door. It was Ryan standing there with 2 huge suitcases and a backpack. He looked exhausted and said his roommate had kicked him out that afternoon. He asked if he could please just stay one night and he'd figure something else out tomorrow. Amy was standing right behind me, and before I could say anything, she jumped in. "Of course you can stay," she said. "We have an air mattress somewhere in these boxes." I pulled Ryan aside while Amy was digging through stuff and asked him what was going on. He said his roommate found out he'd been secretly dating his ex-girlfriend and completely lost it. Apparently there was a huge fight and the roommate told him to get out immediately. Ryan swore it would only be 1 night, but I had this sinking feeling it was going to be longer. That 1 night turned into 4 days. Ryan was on our couch every morning when we woke up. He ate our food, used our shower, and was always just there. Amy started getting annoyed, but she wouldn't say anything because she didn't want to seem mean. On the 5th morning, I woke up and heard Ryan and Amy talking in the kitchen. She was asking him very politely when he thought he'd find a new place. Ryan said he'd been looking, but everything was too expensive, and could he maybe stay just 1 more week? I walked in and finally told him no. I said I loved him like a brother, but he needed to figure something out by the end of the day. Ryan got mad and said he couldn't believe I was kicking him out when he had nowhere to go. He brought up all these times he'd helped me over the years and said I was being a terrible friend. Amy just stood there looking uncomfortable. I didn't back down. I told him he should have been honest from the start instead of showing up at our door with his entire life in suitcases. He grabbed his stuff and left without saying goodbye. For 3 weeks, he ignored all my calls and texts. Then I found out from a mutual friend that Ryan had been sleeping in his car that whole time. He'd lost his job because he had no permanent address and couldn't afford a place on his own.